Thank you everyone for coming. A couple of quick housekeeping things. As it is a virtual meeting, we do ask that you keep yourself muted at all times during the meeting as we conduct the business. When there are portions of opportunities to speak, we do ask that you raise your hand in order to identify so the chair can call on you for discussion. A couple of different ways to do that. The first is if you're on what I call the Brady Bunch screen where you can see everyone. In the bottom of the screen, you should see a button that says reactions. If you click that, you'll see one of the options, the little raise hand. You can click that, it'll raise your hand and the chair can call you to speak. Second option is on the bottom, you'll also see a participants button. If you click that participants button, it will bring up a list of all the people in the meeting. If you hover over your own name, same thing, a little raise hand icon will appear. You can go ahead and click that and it'll raise your hand so the chair can call on you. When the chair calls on you, please unmute yourself. Give us your comments. When you're done speaking, we just ask that you mute yourself again. That way we can limit background noise as much as possible. With that, Kathy, take it away.
Okay, I will call the meeting of the Plan Commission for Tuesday, January 18, 2022 to order. I think Mark gave a good intro, so we'll just go ahead and call the roll.
And that is me tonight. So, Mr. Kiefer.
Here.
Mr. Mitchell.
Here.
Mr. Perry.
Present.
Ms. Shireman.
Here.
Mr. Spanbauer. Ms. Prop.
Here.
Mr. Koulibaly. Ms. Davy. Ms. Davy, are you still muted?
Here. Sorry,
Thank
my
you.
space bar is not working.
Councilmember Ford.
Here.
Mr. Marshall. 7 present.
Okay, thank you. Plan Commission, you have the January 4 minutes. What's your pleasure?
This is Kiefer. I'll make a motion to approve.
Mitchell second.
Any discussion? Okay, go ahead and call the roll.
Thank you. Mr. Kiefer.
Aye.
Mr. Mitchell.
Aye.
Mr. Perry.
Aye.
Ms. Shireman.
Hi.
Ms. Davy.
Hi.
Councilmember Ford.
Aye.
Vice Chair Prop.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
Okay, next item on the agenda is election of officers, and I think, Mark, you start this.
Yes, thank you. So with Mr. Hintz resigning from Plan Commission, I was informed that we do have to go through kind of that whole organizational process again. It'll be the same thing where we call for nominations 3 times, take a vote, and then do vice chair if necessary. So with that, at this time I will call for nominations for chair.
Mitchell, I nominate Mr. Perry.
And you can go ahead and just say them. You don't need to raise your hand for this. I will call a second time for nominations for chair. Third and final call for nominations for chair. With being none, congratulations, Mr. Perry has been elected chair. With that, then we will do vice chair just to make sure we follow the procedure I was given. I will call for nominations for vice chair. Margie, go ahead.
I nominate Justin Mitchell.
I will call a second time for nominations for vice chair. And third and final call for nominations for vice chair. And with no other nominations, congratulations, Mr. Mitchell. With that, then I will turn it over to Mr. Perry.
Thank you, Mark. I don't have the cheat sheet in front of me tonight, so we're going to have to go with what's coming off the top of our head.
I will make sure we get one sent over to you today. So we'll introduce just a quick over for you just to help them introduce items by name, ask for any site visits, accept the staff report as part of the record, and I'll help you as we go through, and then turn it over to staff.
Okay, can we do the beginning where we talk about speaking, waiting for their turns to speak, that kind of thing?
Yes. Would you like me to?
Yes, please.
Yeah, so we just ask that, keep your noise at background level. Normally we ask for cell phone stuff to be turned off, and virtual, that's a little less of an issue. Just please keep yourself muted until the chair recognizes you to speak. Unmute, give us your comments, and then mute yourself when you're again. That way we can keep it a nice orderly meeting.
Thank you. Item number 2 on our agenda tonight, release of storm sewer easement interests located on parts of the 1100 block of Witzel Avenue, Lord's Academy. Petitioner is the City of Oshkosh Department of Public Works. The owner is Lord's Academy of Oshkosh. Were there any site visits?
I do not see any.
I see none on our screen, so I will accept the staff report as written. Go ahead.
The Department of Public Works is requesting the release of 3 storm sewer easements located along Jocelyn Avenue at the Lord's Academy at 1100 Witzel Avenue. The 3 easements are each 10 feet wide by 15 feet deep and 150 square feet in area. The city was granted the storm sewer easements to construct facilities on Lord's property to assist with stormwater runoff off the property. But now in relation to the proposed site improvements that will be occurring at Lourdes, the Department of Public Works determined that the city no longer needs these facilities and is proposing to have the easement released. The existing utilities will be abandoned in place and the city will no longer be responsible for maintenance. And once the easement is released, Lourdes may continue to use, maintain, or remove the utility at its discretion. The Department of Public Works is coordinating with the City Attorney's Office to prepare the necessary documents to release easements, and will be considered by the Common Council at its next meeting on January 25th. The original easement document, even though the facilities were constructed, the actual easement document was not recorded at the Register of Deeds back in 2002. So it is the intention the city will not be recording this release. However, Lourdes will have the option to record the release to avoid any potential title questions or concerns in the future. So staff is recommending approval of the release of the storm sewer easements as requested.
Hey, thank you for your report, Mr. Now. Are there any technical questions for the staff from the Plan Commission?
I do not see any.
Okay, no technical questions. Okay, since this is just an abandonment, we are looking for a motion.
First, it would be any public comment.
Oh, I'm sorry, public comments. Are there any public comments to this item number 2? Any public comments to item number 2?
Don't see any.
I don't see any. Having said that, it's back to the board.
Mitchell will make a motion to adopt the findings and recommendations as stated in the staff report.
Shireman second.
Okay, we have moved and we have a second. Are there any, is there any discussion on the motion? Any discussion on the motion?
Don't see any.
Having seen none, we can move for the vote.
Mr. Kiefer.
Aye.
Ms. Shireman.
Aye.
Ms. Prop.
Aye.
Ms. Davy.
Aye.
Councilmember Ford.
Aye.
Mr. Mitchell.
Aye.
And Chairperson Perry.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. Next on the agenda. Item 3. Public hearing, zone change from SMU to SMU with a plan development overlay and approval of a general development plan for property located at 2885 Algoma Boulevard. Petitioner Terry Abraham, owner Oshkosh Area Humane Society. Has there been any staff visits to that property? I see 1, 2. No other hands? I had noted that it's myself and Ms. Prop. All right, we'll accept the staff report as part of the record.
Thank you.
Presentation.
So the subject site is located on the west side of Algoma Boulevard, south of West Furnow Avenue. It is currently zoned suburban mixed-use district. Surrounding area is mostly industrial uses to the north, cemetery to the east, and vacant land uses to the south. Next slide, please. Here's an aerial view of the subject site. So it is vacant property with the exception of an existing cell tower in the southwest corner of the property. Next slide, please. Here's the proposed site plan. So the proposed land use is going to be a mix of light industrial and storage for the building. With the property being zoned suburban mixed use, that land use is not allowed by code. So they are requesting a plan development overlay to request a base standard modification to allow that land use. So staff is supportive of a rezone for that plan development overlay, as that will assist in the redevelopment of this property. So that'd make the property zoned SMU PD. So the proposed land use, again, is for a light industrial and storage building. It's 12,000 square feet in area. It will be split into up to 4 sections. It'll be utilized by the applicant for storage and maintenance shop, with the remaining area for long-term lease of light industrial or contractor units. So the applicant is requesting a BSM to allow that proposed industrial and indoor storage land use. Staff is supportive of the BSM as we feel it's compatible with the surrounding land uses. Specifically, we have a neighboring industrial use to the north, which is Caloray Inc. And there are also other industrial uses further to the north, and a storage facility about 500 feet to the south. As far as parking, there are 21 parking stalls in the proposed parking lot, which is under the maximum of 25 spaces. Also, the site does meet setback requirements for the SMU district. For the proposed BSM for the land use, staff is recommending to offset that they increase landscaping beyond code, or else enhance the building materials beyond code requirements. Next slide, please. So here are the north and south elevations. They are using metal panels as well as brick veneer for the exterior. If you go to the next slide, it'll show the east and west facades. So on the top is the originally submitted elevations. The east facade is facing Algoma Boulevard. They'd originally shown concrete masonry unit, which is a class 2 material as the predominant material. Staff has worked with the applicant and informed them that 15% of that facade will need to be a class 1 material to meet code. So they have submitted a revised plan, as you can see on the bottom, for that east facade, showing brick veneer now instead of the concrete masonry unit to meet that class 1 material requirement. And staff will review the elevations to make sure they meet code, as well as the landscaping plan and lighting plan as part of the SIP submittal in the future. So with that, staff recommends approval. And here's the originally submitted elevation. You can see on the street-facing facade, they had the CMU, and then on the next one, which is the revised plan, it's changed to have the brick veneer knee wall. Next slide, please. Yeah, so yeah, that one shows the brick veneer and the street-facing facade. So with that, staff recommends approval of the rezone and GDP. with the conditions of a base standard modification for the light industrial and storage use, and that they increase the landscaping or building material standards beyond code requirements.
Thank you for your report. Plan Commission, any questions on the presentation, technical questions for the staff? Plan Commission, any technical questions for the staff? Okay, seeing none, we are now on to public hearing. And at this point, we can ask the public if anybody would like to speak about this. If you choose to speak, please state your name and your address for our records.
We can start with the applicant.
Oh, and we do start with the applicant. So does the applicant wish to speak?
I'm the architect working on the project. Terry's here as well. The one thing that I'll kind of mention is that the landscaping will be kind of worked on, and we'll make sure to kind of add points into the system. But for the SIP, can we discuss that here on what sort of expectations that will be, or would that be offline?
You can ask that of Plan Commission now,
Okay.
as well as you can work through it with staff between GDP and SIP as well.
Fair enough. Because the landscaping and the class 1 material was the main kind of focus so far, correct?
Correct.
Perfect. I think that's about it.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Are there any comments from the public? Does anybody from the public have any comments on this plan? Having seen none, we'll close the public hearing part of the item number 3, and we'll move back to the Plan Commission for a recommendation.
Motion to adopt the findings and recommendation as stated in the staff report. Kathy.
So second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second for approval. We'll open the floor to Plan Commission members for discussion. Kathy, I see your hand up.
Yes, I hope that the landscaping increase will be along the east elevation. It looked pretty sparse to me.
Yes, ma'am. That would be the plan. That'll be done by a separate organization, if you will, Martins and Isley. And we just wanted to take this first step into here, and they'll kind of take the reins on the landscaping plans. But yes, on the east side, that'll be a main focus for that.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Other questions from the Plan Commission?
Not seeing any.
I'm not seeing any either. Okay, no questions from the Plan Commission. We are up for a vote.
Mr. Kiefer,
Aye.
Ms. Shireman,
Aye.
Ms. Prop,
Aye.
Ms. Davy,
Aye.
Councilmember Ford,
Aye.
Mr. Mitchell.
Aye.
Chairman Perry.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
All right, next item on our agenda, item number 4, public hearing, conditional use permit for an indoor institutional use at 818 Wagoo Avenue. Petitioner is Solutions Recovery Incorporated. Owner is Gloria West. Do we have any staff visiting the site? See Ms. Prop. And I see no other hands up. Okay, we're going to accept the staff report as part of the record. Staff, go ahead with your presentation.
Thank you. So the subject site is located on Wagoo Avenue, east of Bowen Street. Next slide, please. Here's the subject site. It is a single-family residential property currently, and it is surrounded mostly by residential land uses as well as a church to the north. It is zoned single-family residential 9 district. Next slide, please. So here's an aerial view of these subject sites. Again, it's currently a single-family residence. The applicant is proposing to convert the house to a sober living home. It will have 6 residents as well as a live-in house manager. They're not proposing any changes to the site itself other than some minor modifications to improve the home. So the use is considered an indoor institutional land use, which requires a conditional use permit in the SR9 district. There was a neighborhood meeting held in December. However, no neighbors attended the meeting. So staff is supportive of the CUP to allow this land use, as the proposed 7 residents will be relatively consistent with several 2-family uses on the block, which would allow for up to 6 residents for those properties. Also, the property has a driveway that can fit up to 3 vehicles. So that meets the indoor institutional land use requirement of 1 space per expected 3 patrons. And the applicant does not anticipate any more than 3 vehicles being needed for the tenants. So with that, staff recommends approval of the conditional use permit for an indoor institutional land use as proposed with the findings in your staff report.
Thank you for your report. Plan Commission, are there any questions for the technical questions for the Plan Commission? Mr. Mitchell, I see your hand is up.
Thank you. Just a quick question about public notice. Do we ever receive information regarding the time frame in which they provided notice for a meeting, such as, conceivably they sent out notice the day before and the neighbors never got it in time? I'm not saying that's the case here, but I didn't see any notation about when the notices went out and if we have a minimum time frame that I guess we would impose for it to qualify for that.
So for the neighborhood meeting, for the Plan Commission meeting?
The neighborhood meeting.
Typically, we want the meetings sent out a week or 2 prior to the meeting to give the neighbors a chance to contact us or contact the applicant in case they have any questions or if it needs to be rescheduled.
Is that possible that information gets included in these sorts of things so that, if it happened to be they only gave a 2-day notice, yet the report said, they had a public meeting and folks didn't attend, that at least we would have that information available?
Yeah, we make sure they send us a copy or we don't consider it a valid neighborhood meeting. So we usually, like Brian said, recommend 2 weeks. If someone did do one of try to do a day or 2, we without question would tell you because we would have the very same concerns you do.
Awesome, thank you.
Ms. Shireman, I see your hand is up.
Yeah, mine was actually of the similar nature. So I'm surprised that there was a meeting and that nobody showed. Perhaps that's consistent with past occurrences, but it seems like I guess I was just unsure of how the notice time, but also how far out, do you have to go, what is recommended, like 2 blocks out or just the neighboring 2 houses on each side, or what does that look like? I just don't want to approve this. Everybody likes it and approve it, and then it comes back and just like, I didn't know anything about it. It's in my backyard or whatever.
Yep. We provide the applicant with a mailing list of all properties within 300 feet of the property, and they send out the notices to those neighbors.
Okay.
So for comparison, when we do the formal notices for Plan Commission, that is only 100 feet. So when we have them do the neighborhood mailing, we have them do 3 times as far.
Okay, very helpful. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Shireman. Are there any other questions for the Plan Commission, technical questions for the Plan Commission at this time? Or the Planning Department, I'm sorry. I see no hands raised. So we will move back to the Plan Commission for a motion.
Public comment yet? And applicant first.
All right. All right, it is time for the applicant to provide a comment if they so choose. Applicant, please remember to state your name and your address. If you choose to speak, your name and your address for our record, and go ahead if you choose to speak, please. Does the applicant wish to provide any more information to this presentation? All right, for the last time, applicant, do you wish to provide any more information to this presentation? Hey,
Yeah.
seeing none.
Yep, don't see anyone.
All right, we don't see anybody, so the public hearing is open for the public to comment. Please state your name and address, and raise your hand if you have that feature so I can call on you. Is there anyone wish to speak from the public on this item, item 4? Okay, I see nobody would like to speak on item 4. Plan Commission, what's your pleasure?
It'll make a motion to adopt the findings and recommendations as stated in the staff report.
Shireman, second.
Okay, the motion's been moved and seconded. Mark, did you get the names?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, Plan Commission, any discussion on the motion? Okay, I have a comment that I would like to make as part of this motion is I'm struggling with the use of the facility in the area and am surprised that there is no comment either from the applicant or any of the neighbors. I would have liked to ask further question about where the funding for the people came from, because certain funding streams require state licensing as part of the home and whether or not that's been completed or not. So those are just my thoughts going into this.
I believe Brian did reach out to the applicant about state licensing.
Yes, the applicant did state that state licensing is not required for a sober living home.
For what it's worth.
All right, Plan Commission, any other comment? All right, let's call the vote.
Mr. Kiefer,
Aye.
Ms. Shireman,
Aye.
Ms. Prop,
Aye.
Ms. Davy.
Aye.
Councilmember Ford,
Present.
Mr. Mitchell,
Aye.
Chairperson Perry.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0.
All right. Next on the agenda, item 5, comprehensive land use plan map amendment from general commercial to light density residential for property located east of the eastern end of Farmington Avenue. Petitioner is Mitch Nordahl of Wildflower Development Group LLC. Owner is Dennis Metzler. Has there been any site visits to this area? I see one in Kathy. Anybody else? Okay, Kathy is so noted. We'll accept the findings or we will accept the staff report as written. Okay, Planning Department.
Thank you. The petitioner is requesting an amendment to the comprehensive land use plan of a vacant 5.5 acre lot east of the end of Farmington Avenue. Mark, can you go to the next slide, please? Up on the screen is the existing land use map. It's the one right in the center. It's currently vacant. The petitioner is proposing to develop the lot with a small subdivision to be done via plat. The proposed subdivision is going to be a higher density single-family residence subdivision than you typically find. The proposed land use is not consistent with the comprehensive land use plan. The current comp plan calls for general commercial for this site, and the proposed use would be considered light density residential. However, the current zoning is SR5, which is a single family residence district. So the comp plan is currently in conflict with the existing zoning of the site. However, the proposed density the petitioner is requesting or proposing would not be permitted in the SR5 district. So if the comp plan amendment is approved, the applicant would be proposing or requesting his own change to SR9 district, which would allow, permit the higher density residential uses. Okay, up on the screen is our one concept plan of the proposed subdivision. Each lot would be 40 feet wide, which is much more narrower than you typically find in newer subdivisions. Usually they're at least 60 to 70 feet wide. And this would provide for smaller houses to be constructed on. Can you go on to the next slide, Mark? And this is a second concept plan that has larger lots, mostly sized at 60 feet wide. So there's an option that would allow development of the site with the current zoning, that's the current SR5 zoning, if the case is, or if the comp plan map amendment is not approved by council. Now, can you go back to the air photo, Mark, please? Or this will work. Okay, and looking, or actually go to the comp plan map, please. There we go. Okay, and looking at the site, you can see the pink area where the subject site is currently slated for general commercial. But looking at the development patterns to the west and south, both Christian Drive and Farmington Avenue are dead-ended without a cul-de-sac, with the presumed intent that the residential development would expand to the east. In 2014, the city was approached by a potential developer to subdivide the subject site as well as the subject site to the south, or the site to the south. And at that time, he requested that the city officially map a connection from Farmington Avenue heading south and then reconnecting with Christian Drive. So with the official mapping in place, it's obvious that the intent of this land was slated for residential uses. So staff is in support of the proposed comp plan amendment from general commercial to light density residential. So that is it. So staff is recommending approval of the comp plan amendment as proposed.
Just a couple of additional comments to what Jeff said. Yeah, we have been discussing with this applicant, and they'd like to build a little bit of a smaller home than what you see in a lot of our newer subdivisions. They'd indicated shooting for about 1,300 square feet, a little bit more of an entry-level affordable unit than maybe what we're seeing in some of our other developments, which would necessitate this proposed smaller lot, higher density, single-family area.
Okay, Plan Commission. Are there any technical questions for the planning staff? I didn't see you put their hand up first, but Mr. Mitchell, you're first on my screen.
Thank you. This at one point previously would have been farmland, I would imagine. I'm not sure when that would have ended. Do you know when that is the case? And if so, does that also get added to the log in which we're maintaining, I guess, the loss of farmland? It looks like, at least from the online photos, that it maybe hasn't been for a while, but.
Yeah, we'd have to go back and look through the photos. This has been vacant land from the residential development to the west for quite a while. We'll see if we can dig through some of our older aerials and figure out maybe when that would have been the case.
Got it. I'm not sure what that time frame for monitoring is, but my other question is, we did have another proposal for this general region, and one of the things that we had brought up was maybe the absence of an immediate neighborhood park there. I know across Jackson and down a ways is the county park, but has there been any progress related to park space that would serve, an increased density in this area?
Not that I'm aware of, but I can follow up with Mr. Mauer.
Any other questions? Mr. Mitchell? Miss Davy, you're next.
My question too was going to be about parkland, recreation area for the 28 additional houses. I do like the smaller cottage idea for that particular area, but I was questioning the pond. Is that because it's a low-lying area and needs to be a pond, or is there a reason that has to be a pond and couldn't be turned into green space of some kind?
They will have stormwater management requirements that they have to meet for the residential development.
So then could we say that it was a 27 cottage area with a park space?
So there are parkland requirements for either dedication of space or payment in lieu of that. Once we get down the line towards some of those steps, today is really just about the comp plan, whether we should change it from commercial to low density residential. But there is a lot of issues that need to be worked through on the other side of it if we move forward.
Thank you.
If I may add, I took a peek at some of the older aerial images, and it looks like the area ceased farming between 1991 and 1994, and that's about the same time frame the subdivision to the east began development. I'm sorry, to the west.
All right, Ms. Prop, you're next.
Yes, with the smaller width of the lots and smaller homes, will that require a change in our zoning code?
In the code itself, no, but they would need to rezone to SR9 to be able to have lots of that size.
Okay, and then the lots would meet our code.
Correct.
Correct. Minimum lot size in SR9 is 40 feet wide, 4,500 square feet in area, and it does allow smaller setbacks, side yard setbacks, 5 feet versus 7.5 feet.
Oh, okay, good. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Shireman, you're withdrawing your question?
Yeah, I got it answered. Thank you.
Right. Any other people, any other plan commission members, technical question? Okay, I have one. I would like to know, does this project or parcel, is it subject to sidewalks or the future planning of sidewalks, as I noticed the rest of the neighborhood does not have them?
Yeah. So city code would require sidewalks. That's something we'll have to work through with the applicant, because as you said, a lot of that area to the north and to the west developed prior to it being in the city, which is why it does not have any. So it may be worth discussing that, especially with engineering accounts, whether it makes sense to install them at this time or defer that to a later date. But it is something that needs to be discussed as the process would move forward.
Okay, thank you. And also the extension of the road would require curb and gutter?
Correct. It would have to meet city code for the roadway.
All right, and then the road currently as it's proposed would dead end because there would be no way to get through the adjacent lot. And so it's not required as a roundabout or anything like that?
There will be a
No,
temporary cul-de-sac installed until that time, if it does expand further to the south and connect with Christian. So that will come with the regular platting process to ensure that that easement is secured.
Yeah, and we would likely be looking to update the Jeff, my mind's going blank on the term, official mapping. So as you can see, this dashed red and black line is the prior official mapping the city did to reserve, kind of showing that we anticipate a roadway going there. If this plat moves forward, we would amend this official mapping to basically match up with the new road layout. Again, to preserve that property for future residential development, as we did in this case.
Correct.
All right, I noticed Justin would like to add something from the city staff.
Yeah, I just wanted to note that Farmington and Christensen from basically Anderson West already have sidewalks. So I would anticipate this development, if it would move forward as public right of way, would have public sidewalks.
Okay. Yep, you can, I don't know if, for plan commission, if you can
Yeah,
see it here.
there is sidewalk on the north side of Farmington currently.
Is it just under the red line?
Correct.
It's actually both north and south side of Farmington and Christensen.
Oh, okay.
So hopefully,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Perry, that helps. Thank you,
Any
Justin.
other technical questions from the plan commission? All right, since this is a public hearing, I'd like to have a statement from the applicant if they are here.
Yeah, so Mitch Nordahl, address 8701 County Road M, Larson, Wisconsin. Our intent for this is really to get us a small community subdivision in this area. The biggest zoning difference here, even at SR9 with proposed 60-foot lots, there's something within the zoning restrictions between SR5 and SR9 that allows essentially a house to be 2.5 feet closer to the lot lines. If you have SR9 zoning versus SR5 zoning as well. So it just helps with our density. And looking at the financial numbers of this particular project specifically, there's, without that urban density that we're looking at, the market in Oshkosh, the affordability factor that we're trying to meet for this project. I mean, we build a lot of entry-level homes, and being able to do that is just really not feasible without that zoning change.
Okay. Any other comments from the petitioner or representatives of the petitioner? If not, we'll open the public hearing. Please remember, speaking for the public hearing, please state your name and address for our records. Is there anybody wishing to speak as part of the public hearing? Is there anyone willing to speak as part of the public hearing?
I am not seeing anyone.
Not seeing anyone either. As such, we'll close the public hearing. Plan Commission, it's back to you.
Motion to adopt the findings and recommendations as stated in the staff report, Kathy.
Mitchell, second.
We have a motion and a second. Comments, are there any additional comments on the motion from the Plan Commission? Mr. Mitchell.
Thank you. This, I think, is a great idea. And I think we talked a bit about this in the recent or the current underway housing study. The housing assessment is the need for some of the middle ground, newer owner-occupied housing units. So I commend everyone involved in looking at this as a possible option. And I'm happy to support it. The one thing I'd really like to see, whether it be at a future meeting in the near future or included with the information provided, is just where we're at with park developments. I'm guessing there's about 100 to 150 single-family homes in this couple block radius here, and then probably another, I don't know, 150 to 250 rental units that are currently in existence, as well as, like I said, another development that I think we had previously approved or recently approved. And so it ends up being a high consolidation of residential properties, void of the park space that you would expect from a neighborhood that's been planned out. So I guess without seeing that, it's hard to really know how many more people we're going to be putting into an area serving families that don't have access to any sort of recreational space. So that would be really valuable to see in the future.
Thank you, Justin. Ms. Prop, you're next.
I agree with Justin on that. Logan Drive area is right just south of there, and I think they have almost no park space or open area. But I just also want to commend the developer and the city for doing this. I think this is a good location for this smaller lot type of development. And yes, it has been pointed out that the city needs these smaller, more affordable homes. So I'm delighted to support it.
Thank you, Ms. Prop. Are there any other comments from the Plan Commission on the motion? I see none, so let's call for the vote.
Mr. Kiefer,
Aye.
Ms. Shireman,
Aye.
Ms. Prop,
Aye.
Ms. Davy,
Aye.
Councilmember Ford,
Aye.
Mr. Mitchell,
Aye.
Chairperson Perry.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. Sorry, guys, I go back and forth between my cheat sheet and the agenda on my phone.
That would be all we have for business today.
All right, next item on the agenda is adjournment.
So moved.
Mr.
Who
Kiefer
wants to
moved adjournment. Who seconded?
Second.
Who was the motion? Sorry, I didn't catch it.
Mr. Kiefer.
John Kiefer and Ms. Shireman for the second.
Shireman, correct.
Thank you.
Okay, this would have to be a voice vote, so please call.
Mr. Kiefer,
Aye.
Ms. Shireman,
Aye.
Ms. Prop,
Aye.
Ms. Davy,
Aye.
Councilmember Ford,
Aye.
Mr. Mitchell,
Aye.
and Chairperson Perry.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
All right, meeting is adjourned.